What is up, everybody? Welcome back to still brand new, but everybody's favorite MMA Crunch Time. You're not Drew Matthews. You're not Red Kachik. It's Blender.
I have red hair. I got some red hair. I still got red hair.
I can grow out a nice red beard as well. Blender HD, Jordan Cooper. How you doing, buddy? I mean, I had to bring you in for this slate. All right, we had 14 fights, down to 13, down to 12, now down to 11. This has your name written all over it. Women's fights, all closely lined fights. This is your type of slate, buddy.
Definitely. I mean, I'd love it to be a bigger slate. I mean, I'm not a fan as the fights get lower and lower. That means you have to do more and more weird things in order to get unique. But an 11 fight card where literally everyone is in play, I mean, it just allows you to build so many different combinations of lineups. I mean, it truly is a play whoever you want type of slate. Although I play ultra exploitatively, so there I'm going to be very heavy on certain fighters, very under on others. And if it goes my way, I have a lot of shots at first, and if it doesn't, I'll be closing the laptop early.
That's the way to play it if you want first place, and you definitely can do that on this slate. Remember, this show brought to you by FanDuel. It is a great time to sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Massachusetts because those in Massachusetts still get the offer, but bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. I've been having fun dabbling in the sports betting streets, Blender. I know it's not necessarily yours. You like the prop market sometimes.
I got tons of prize, dude. I got prize picks up the ass on this.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's ways to hedge out against, potential spots you might have in DFS, etc., which make it very, very, very interesting. But where do you want to start on a slate like this? If you're looking at a slate, small slate, do you start looking at the main event right away? Are you looking at fading it? How are you starting it?
Two context. You should always start every MMA slate by looking at the context of which the nut lineup, the optimal, if you want to call it, the nut lineup will more or less likely look like. And those two contexts, those contextual variables are slate size, number of fights, and the spread of the fights. Okay? So slate size large. That means the context of the nut lineup is going to more likely be the highest ceiling score fighters, right? There's more opportunities for more fighters to score 100 plus points, and needing 600 plus point fighters in your lineup, regardless of the price. So like on these 15 fight cards, when there's some $7,200 underdog that has like good win equity, like if they don't get a finish, it's quite likely they're not going to still be in the nut lineup. And then on closely lined fights, when the fights are very wide spreads, meaning you got a lot of minus 500 favorites and stuff like that, it's less likely that you get many underdogs that win, which means that the nut lineup is more likely to be closer to 50K to use all the salary. Yeah. On cards like this, where the biggest favorite is Tucker Lutz currently at minus 280, which is only not even a 3-1 favorite, it's more likely that we have multiple underdogs winning, which means the nut lineup gets less and less likely to spend most of the salary. So we could easily see lineups that leave 500, 1,000, I mean, even 1,500 or 2,000 on the table that have legitimate paths of having the top 6 fighters by score in your lineup. So that's where I usually start. And then I go to the main event of like, how owned is the main event? Is it over-owned or under-owned? And compared to those two contexts. So for me, overall on this slate, from a macro standpoint, I'm building lineups that leave a decent amount of money on the table and are more likely, based on this main event. I'm typically, Mike, you know me, I'm a main event fader type of guy. This is the type of slate where the context warrants that most of my lineups have a main event fighter in it, only because it's 5 rounds, most likely to go the distance, and the fighters are in the mid-range, so 8,600 and 7,600. So a 5-round decision victory, I mean, it's quite likely that one of them puts up 100 points, 90, 100 points, And at their salaries, that's more or less going to be optimal on an 11-fight card. 15-fight card? Okay, maybe I take a shot. So, like, most of my lineups have a main event fighter in it. And then with the amount of pick'em or closely lined fights, I play exploitatively. So I tend to go away from the chalk. And I've won huge. I would say one huge fade and one decently sized fade, and it's gonna be a fight where if it's, I don't like playing round one KO or bust strikers that are favorite, that are chalk. Like, I'll play them when they're low owned, but not when they're high owned. So I know one of your prize picks is Chidi and Jaquani under 97.5 fantasy points. I did play that prize pick, and if that prize pick comes in, my DFS lineups are probably doing, or maybe they're not doing well. They're not going to be killed.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a tough matchup. The way the UFC is building these slates, though, Blender, I mean, you talk about low-level women's MMA. There was supposed to be one on here that was just going to be mouth-watering, but that one got canceled. And, you know, we have a lot of action fights. That's the big thing, too. Like, I don't see a lot of the pace being slow outside of maybe the Holm fight, Blender. That, I mean, Holm has name value, but, I mean, potentially she could grapple in this spot. Like, this slate is so weird that Holly Holm could legitimately grapple her way and somehow hit, 10x on her salary. Remember to put your questions in our Discord. We'll give those people
priority. Or how about in the YouTube chat? The YouTube chat also.
Of course, we love YouTube as well. I have YouTube as well, but we will focus on Discord first if we have to, our premium members. But make sure you get those questions in there. We will answer them as they come in. And my starting point on this slate, Blender, was the Leighton Andweir. That guy fights crazy. He's not defensively sound. You have min-priced Austin Lingo. What is he now? Like a plus 175? I mean, this is a rare instance that you can legitimately play Austin Lingo with decent win equity. His win condition probably looks like a first-round finish as well. I mean, Leighton Andweir just goes for it. She's all gas, no brakes. It's the type of fight where I think either guy are going to score very well, but the ownership on Landwehr is 34%. You would expect him to be higher. I
think this fight is drastically overowned. I mean, I'm with you. Landwehr. I mean, what's going to happen on this slate if you hand build lineups, or if you build it even in lineup HQ or anything like that, based on like the median projections, like it's going to want you to spend like all the salary or most of the salary, and I don't think Landwehr's ceiling is anything different than half the other fighters on the slate. So I think that Landwehr is going to go over owned. I have him at 32% projected owned. I have Lingo at 20% projected owned. So if half the lineup is going to have this fight, I don't necessarily see past the first round how either fighter like does all that well. I mean, Lingo is pretty much just a striker and needs to knock him out. Landwehr could mix in a takedown or two, so I don't mind a little bit more of the ceiling in Landwehr. I'm leaving money on the table, but like this is the type of slate where I don't want to buy in as much to the chalky fights in comparison to the main event. So like I'm under on Landwehr, I'm under on Lingo. There's not that many wrestlers on this slate or anything, so it's just gonna be high variance, and whoever gets knockouts is gonna be in the winning lineup. And I just want to go towards the people that are either less dependent on that, or that are less owned for the same type of results. To me, if Landwehr is going to be 32% owned, he's only plus 160 inside the distance. Like, is there that drastic of a difference between him and Trevin Giles at plus 160? Not really. I mean, other than the fact that Giles doesn't do anything.
But Giles is inside the distance, probably competitive with Landwehr's on this.
Landwehr, right? And also his win, even his money line. Trevin Giles is minus 112, which is 53% win probability. Landwehr's minus 192, which is 66% win probability. And we're playing DFS. Yeah, winning is great when it comes to cashing. Sure, get 6 winners, get 5 winners in your lineup. You're going to cash. But I'm looking for ceiling. So it's like, obviously Landwehr has more paths to victory than Giles because Giles barely throws. He just basically needs, in order for him to get 100 points, he's going to need a knockout in the first round. Landwehr maybe don't, but I mean, it's a $1,200 difference. And is there that dramatic of it? Should Giles be half as owned as Landwehr? No. Especially when salary doesn't even matter on this slate. I could leave $1,200 on the table and still be fine. So, like, I do have Landwehr. I mean, I have some of everyone pretty much. But I'm under on the fight. It could be a crazy fight. It could be a crazy fight with no takedown. Someone gets a round 2 finish, and it's 87 points. And you're just like, okay, was it necessary? At 50% ownership in combination. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like, what is the fight ownership? And where should I be building my lineups towards?
You talk about a fight that will be high owned. It's the De Silva and Vergara. Vergara, this one definitely looks like De Silva just comes out even more crazy than Landwehr does. Like, he just shoots everything he's got in that first round. And if he doesn't get it, he gasses out and gives up all the points. Is that a type of spot where, Vergara at 45%, you got to play the ownership game, right? Like, you got to take a stance on this type of fight. Like, if you're building the lingo lineups, you don't need De Silva. People are probably going to organically play a Vergara in their lineups. Try to jam in the Lutz Vergara combo even. How are you trying to get different then? Are you going to play De Silva? I mean, I imagine De Silva fits your mold of leverage, getting off of the lingo chalk, I guess, that could happen. Especially for optimizers, right? Optimizers are going to pop out lingo in their lineups because he just allows you to jam in all of the inside the distance line guys. So De Silva probably fits the mold for you. Or, I mean, even Pineda, right? Pineda above him, his path is probably to come out heavy. It's not going to, his metrics aren't going to be the best in the world, Pineda, but at least De Silva is.
Well, I think De Silva, you gain more leverage with De Silva because Vergara is going to be higher owned than Lutz, right? I think Vergara and Lutz are the two I have on my spreadsheet as the two, even at their ownership, the two most like positive EV fighters on the slate. So they rank 1 and 2 on a slate where salary doesn't matter. Okay, so like 9,390. Will they pay off their tag? It's 11 fights, right? There's going to be it's 6 winners out of 11. Get the top 6. I mean, like it's like I don't care about the salary. Will they pay off the tag? Doesn't matter to me. So it's just a matter of what fights are more likely to end inside the distance and with a high score. And with so few wrestlers on the slate, like we don't have that many, 6 takedown type of stuff. So it's like, okay, does this fight likely contain a knockout or TKO or something early? Yeah, it's the one by far. So like I'm over on De Silva, but I have plenty of Vergara as well. It's probably the best fight on the slate to target. I think more so than the main event. So I'm on it. I mean, I think on both sides of the fight are great. I think Lutz Pineda. I think there's a little bit more uncertainty on how the fight goes.
Yeah, it could just
Vergara De Silva is just going to be chaos for 3 minutes, and then let's see what happens. I think Lutz has if Lutz does he go for takedowns? Does he keep it on the feet? Does Pineda get reverse and then get a submission? Like Pineda could finish early also. But I mean, that fight could also go to the third round and just be kind of a slower fight if Lutz doesn't push the pace. So like, I'm more confident that the winner of the Vergara De Silva fight, it puts up a lot of points. So when salary doesn't matter, I don't mind that Vergara's 9,300.
Yeah. And you talk about those fast-paced fights. We're going to talk about right here the slow-paced one. It's the Holm case, right? She's the name value, up in this upper echelon of fighters, and 20% ownership. Yana Santos, both ladies fight at such a slow pace, but with 11 fights, I feel like I kind of need some exposure to this spot. But I'm more apt to play like a Macy Barber, I think, who at least she has heavy hands. She could probably ground Lee. Maybe get some control time, some little pitter patter, the little things that add up over time, where Holm just stalls against the cage. There's just not going to be a lot to love there. I kind of wish the ownership was higher on Holm. I got to be honest, right, Blender? That would be a good thing because there's probably not a lot to love in that particular fight. I mean, do you even get to Santos? I mean, I don't I don't know what her win even looks like. Is it a submission? Is it something off, a crazy armbar? It's probably your low percentage women's MMA type of spot, right?
Well, I have Yana Santos as overowned. I think she'll be in the double digits, and I think that's way higher than she should be. Just their ceiling is just so low on a slate where you could leave 1,000 on the table. So it's not a matter of does Yana Santos get a decision win and score 64 points. Like, I don't know if that matters. I mean, I literally don't know if that matters. So, like, I have no Santos. I'm over on Holm because to me, I don't even have to break down the fights. You show me 9K women's fighters, I'm always over on them. They burn you most of the time. Let me tell you, look at the past couple of slates. They burn you all the time. But women's MMA a lot of times is a physicality type of game, right? Yeah. Where if one of the women isn't prepared, like, they count significant strikes much more for the women's fighters. And if one woman smothers the other woman, you'll see these scores of like 120, 130 points and wonder, like, why didn't I think that could be an outcome? Santos is coming off a layoff. She just had a baby. Holm signed a 6-fight contract. So the fact but Mike, if you want to play into the narratives, right? Because I listened to Liam and you on the Ground and Pound podcast. It's like, well, UFC signed her to a 6-fight deal. So they have to know that, like, they can't just send her out in her first fight to lose or something. So it's like, yeah, does Yana Kunitskaya want to have a fight? Okay, here you go. Serve you up on a platter. So who says that? Holly Holm has been fighting 5-round fights against the top class of the division. I know she's 42, but who says she doesn't go out there and just, like, destroy her? Doesn't win inside the distance, but just takes her down, ground and pound, 3 rounds, and scores 130 points. I mean, it's possible, right? And it's 11-fight card. How many choices do I have? So you give me some 9K fighters that are 18-ish% owned. It's like, okay, I'll take a shot. I mean, it's not Holm and Barber are not like prime pieces of my portfolio, but I did not X them out at all.
I mean, I'm more apt to probably play Barber for her knockout. Her inside the distance line has to be better, I assume, than Holm.
It is, but it's not that much. Macy Barber's plus 257 inside the distance. Holm is plus 330. So it's 28% versus 23%. Is it that dramatic of a difference? I think Andrea Lee is a better fighter than Yana Santos. So, like, I think Lee puts up more resistance depending on what Barber's game plan is. I think if Barber takes Lee down, Barber has good ground and pound. Will she get a submission? Probably not. Lee's a BJJ black belt. So, like, I think I have no Lee. Andrea Lee, I have is projected owned as 20%.
I don't
and for
like
her
her
ceiling, fine. If she beats me, she beats me. And it's like the 3 fighters I have none of are Santos, Lee, and Chidi and Jaquani. And Lee could win. I'm not saying that Lee can't win. I don't see Lee killing me.
It's a low percentage arm bar. It's something off her back. It's the low percentage that doesn't really come out pretty often. But if you do get beat by it,
but that's a ceiling result. Like if Lee goes to a decision and wins because there's all the Barber clenches her against the fence or whatever, and she wins and scores 62 points. Like then I don't have it. Okay, great. I don't. My Barber lineups are dead, and the Lee. And do I need Lee? No. So I just don't see that much of a probabilistic path at 20% ownership at Lee putting up 100 points.
Yep, makes a lot of sense there. We still have 20 minutes left until lock. Looks like all fights intact. Fingers are definitely crossed for that one. Blender, it looks like a type of view question here in our YouTube chat. Would you max 2 Lutz, Vergara, Chidi?
I mean, I think it's more like max. Well, I think I even have that. The group that I have in my large field, I have a max 2 of Vergara, Lutz, Chidi, Sandhagen, Vera.
Yep.
Right. So,
because
like, I
don't care about the salary. That doesn't matter. Yeah.
Right. And salary doesn't matter. Most of my large field lineups are between 49. Most of them are between 49K and 49.5. Most of them. I have one that's 48.1. Right. And then my small field stuff, I have like 49.7, 49.8, 49.9 type of lineups because I don't need the nut lineup in smaller field stuff. But yeah, if you want to make sure that you're getting more unique, I'm not saying that you're going to be unique, but you'll be less duplicated. My group is Sandhagen, Vera, Chidi, and Jaquani, Lutz, Vergara, Max 2. But
yeah,
can you make unique lineups with Max 3? I guess you can, but it'll be a little bit harder.
Yeah, and then the other thing he says is min 3 underdogs. You know, he's trying to think of trying to get unique. I mean, honestly, I don't think
you can set your salary.
You can do anything.
The thing is, you can set your salary at 49K and automatically get 3 underdogs. Like, you don't have to put in. I have lineups where I'm playing only 2 underdogs, but it's Lingo and Pineda, and I'm not playing Landwehr or I'm still leaving 800 on the table.
Exactly. There's ways to do it, you know, and not really worry about the salary thing. I will say there is like one hidden fight that I don't think anybody's really, you know, thinking about for their lineups or looking at. It's that Lucas Alexander and Steven Peterson fight. Is that a spot where it's 2 strikers and I don't know how bad they are. Like, this is an ugly fight. I mean, Blender, I think you've seen Steven Peterson fight before. I would imagine he's not the best in the world, but Lucas Alexander is equally not as good. So I think like realm of possibilities in these spots are so crazy because we saw Alexander grounded in one of his fights, right? Like, Peterson, could he wrestle? Yes. Could Alexander knock Peterson out? Absolutely. Like, this particular fight, and then we'll talk about the Duraev spot in a second. I find like for my lineups, I'm not landing here, and I don't have any interest in either of these guys either. Like, this is an interesting fight on this slate. Would you agree? Because it's 2 strikers.
Is Steven Peterson a striker?
I mean, I look at him as a low end striker. I mean, I don't.
No, look at his takedown. Look at his takedown numbers.
D1 Peterson, taken down 3 times, taken down 3, taken down twice. I mean, he's gotten offensive against strikers before.
Right. Yeah. And Lucas Alexander has no ground game. So like on this slate, especially with only 11 fights and not like, I'm looking at like, where can I get a lot of points even in a decision? Like I'm looking at Steven Peterson. I'm looking at Albert Duraev. I mean, I'm like, there's really, there's not many opportunities for landing takedowns on this slate. So like when in doubt, especially with all these pick 'em fights, if Peterson's going to be under 30% owned in this mid range, and Chidi's going to be almost 40% owned, and Sandhagen's going to be 45% owned, and we got like Manal Kopp and Salvador being 30+% owned as essentially just kind of KO or bust type of strikers. Like, dude, Steven Peterson, like I have my prize picks on Steven Peterson. I have the over 14.75 minutes for Steven Peterson, but there's no reason why he can't go out and just smother and just use his physicality, close the distance, push him up against the fence, bring him down. Is he going to get the submission? Probably not, but like lay and pray and some ground strikes and whatever. He pushes the pace. So like it's 11 fights. I need to find where this upside is. And I don't want to rely on trying to figure out what 6 fighters get the first round knockout because that's such high variance. I'll let the field try to do that. So I have exactly. I have a lot of Peterson. I have much less of Lucas Alexander, but I don't see this as a low scoring fight necessarily on the Peterson side. Lucas Alexander, in order to put up 100 points, needs a first round knockout. I mean, like I don't see him putting up 200 strikes, in a competitive decision or anything like that. So I'm less on his path to 100, but Peterson, yeah, I'd much rather play Peterson than Njokuani. I think there's just many more paths to Peterson scoring 100 than Chidi scoring 100.
Exactly. Yeah, Chidi's just an interesting case because like I could see this as one of our. You and I used to talk on the podcast. If he gets grounded in the first round and then gets the knockout in the second round or third round, like he's not going to get.
He doesn't. Then I don't care. I don't get killed by him, right? If he gets grounded in the first and knocks him out, and then he may get what? He'll get like 77 85. Points.
Yeah, 80.
And it's like, okay, I'm not dead to that. That's fine.
Exactly. Like I think that's even like a high percentage outcome but the problem though with Duraev is that he says he wants to, stand and bang with this guy. I mean, you got to stick to your game plan. Just take the guy down and do the smart game plan, especially at 7,400.
Mike, have you seen the fighters on the slate? This slate reeks of bad fight IQ. all the way down the card. I mean, like just literally all the way down the card. You got people that wrestle that aren't going to wrestle. There are people that strike. They're going to try to take people down. It's going to be people that just they'll brawl when they should be fighting more technically against their opponent. It's going to be all over the place. I mean, who knows? I mean, we have this mid price fight, Giles Parsons, and who says Parsons wrestles? He should, but who says he does? Who says Giles just sits back and counterpunches? Maybe Giles comes at him and go with Salvador Altamirano, that first fight of the night. I mean, to me, I have a lot of that first fight, but that's
scary.
That's a train wreck. I mean, some of these are train wreck fights. What is Alex Perez going to look like? Who knows? Daniel Pineda, he could literally give up 35 seconds into the fight. I mean, like literally, give up, and like Tucker Lutz takes him down, and he gets pushed up against the fence and getting with strikes, and then covers up and is done. Like that could happen.
There's so many, like you said, that there's so many slippery fights on this one. It is pretty concerning, but I mean, there's a lot of narratives.
You got when it's slippery, you got to stay away from the puddles, right? Everyone's diving into these puddles. They're diving into Chidi and Jaquani. They're diving into Manel Kopp. They're diving into Vergara. They're diving into all these things, and I'm like, dude, this is dude, if you just put all these fighters, right? If you put all 22 fighters in a hat and then picked out six, and I think that's a valid line. Truthfully, I think it's a valid line.
Seriously, on this slate, absolutely. Maybe not Yana Santos, but hey, it is.
But even so, but if you're gonna play Santos, play it in a lineup that it makes sense, if anything. Yeah. Just like I don't want to have these popular combinations. I don't want to be building Vergara, Lutz, Chidi, Vera lineups. Like dude, on a slate with this much variance, like don't build those lineups. Just like if that lineup wins, let the 278 people congratulate their best friends on a $3,200 or whatever that $1,700 whatever would win. Right? Just I don't play for that. That's not profitable long term. So I'm going to be leaving money on the table and playing less popular combinations.
You talked about Alex Perez. Like you talk about narrative as well, right? Manel Kopp obviously shooting up the rankings when you have Perez kind of coming down off of, losing against some contenders, right? He's at in his home. Like, why are they doing this fight? Like, I mean, obviously they want Kopp to probably knock his block off Perez. But when Kopp goes the second and third round at 8,900, his scoring is just going to be so limited. I mean, it's going to be, he could score 60. Hell, he could score 52 in a decision win. You know what I mean?
He could score 52 in a third round knockout.
Oh, that's actually how bad it could be. But Perez has more tools. He could win this fight in many different ways. And I think
you're discounting. I think Kopp is much better on the ground than people think. But I mean, I don't think Kopp's not going for takedowns or anything. I just think that don't discount. This is not like just Manel Kopp, if he gets taken down, he's dead, right? Well, because we have the Chidi stuff. What do you? I know we're talking about Kopp, but with the Chidi stuff, he says he's a black belt in BJ. Like, is this guy for real?
No, he's got an amazing voice. I highly tell everybody to tune in when he has this pre-fight interview. You know how they do that before they walk him out? He has this really raspy, amazing voice. And
did you see the interview from yesterday from Fury FC?
No. Oh, which one? Oh, the guy. Oh, yeah, with the backpack on. Yeah.
With the backpack on. That was my favorite post-fight interview ever I've ever seen. Where he's actually honest and just like, how do you feel? It's like, that was crazy. I couldn't believe that happened.
Honesty goes a long way. We still have about 10 minutes until lock on this slate. Make sure you get in your last minute questions in our Discord and the YouTube chat here. How many points do you get for a good voice? Good voice points, me, 20 points. A couple knockdowns, right, Jordan?
Does it count on Rainmakers? Maybe it counts on Rainmakers.
Rainmakers, it could as well. I mean, this is such a crazy slate. I don't even know where to go from here. Is there any fights that we've kind of missed? That Altamirano fight, like you said, first fight of the night, Salvador on Contender Series. This was a guy I looked at Blender, and I said, this guy's going to have 3 rounds of striking. If he's hanging in there, that could score very well. This guy had an insane amount of output on the feet, 8.5 significant strikes before he finished the notorious Shannon Ross, who lost in his debut, lost on the Contender Series, got the contract, and then lost in his debut. He's going to have great output, but I think Altamirano needs to mix in takedowns, right? Like is Altamirano going to be some sort of leverage, or is it going to be just even in this spot?
I think Salvador's overowned. Altamirano's about efficiently owned. It's just that I'm looking to avoid, doesn't mean I have zero, but I'm looking to avoid playing. If you followed this strategy on every slate and you just played every slate this way, it would be profitable. You're going to have some big losses, but you also have some big wins. Said here's, you understand the two contexts of an MMA slate, and then you go, okay, be over on under-owned women's MMA favorites, right? You know you're going to get burned plenty of times. And then also be under-owned on favored round 1 or bust strikers. Not once they could wrestle, that's a different story. Like Tucker Lutz could wrestle. Nate Landwehr could even throw some wrestling in there. Steven Peterson could throw in some wrestling. Right? Now, once you get into the underdogs, I don't mind the round 1 or I don't mind Daniel Da Silva because he's 6,900. If he goes out and he craps the bed, so be it. But if he scores 120 points at 6,900, he's optimal. That's it. You're end of story. You don't have to worry about anything anymore. So it's like Salvador he's a striker with a plus 150 inside the distance line. It's a nearly pick'em fight. Like in a decision, I mean, what does he score? I mean, Altamirano could score 100 points in a decision. I don't know if Salvador can. So given the choice, Altamirano's lesser owned than Salvador. So I'm playing Altamirano. So
if we didn't have
really just what it comes down to.
If we didn't have the Da Silva or the Lingo on this slate, I know you don't do it, but would you ever consider stacking Vera and Sandhagen? I mean, I know you would never do it, right? But on this context of slate, I think you may have to consider that. It's just at a very, very small. But it's because Blender, the amount of output Sandhagen has is going to get there, and then Vera gets win points. I mean,
no. If Sandhagen loses, he ain't going to be in the optimal for 8,600. It's the other way around. If Vera loses and puts up enough points to beat out all the other underdogs, this ain't the type of slate where
you don't have to get that crazy.
No. I'm more likely to stack on a small, if this was an 11 fight card and 5 of the favorites were 5-1 or better, then it's okay, there's not many underdogs that can win. So Vera's fine. But I mean, on this slate, it's
no,
I don't think a loser is making the optimal. I think there's going to be, if I had to guess, I'd put the plus minus on how many underdogs win at 3.5, right? 2.5, 3.5. I mean, look at your expert survey. If you're a premium member, you're your hot take is $2,500 salary on the table and good luck and 4 underdogs in a lineup. So I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, it is that type of slate for sure. 5 minutes until lock. Still no news. No news is good news until they come on and say, well, we have some unfortunate news.
Some other fight gets canceled or by the main card or something. They'll do something like that.
Yeah, so I'm on the pulse. Nothing yet on any of that front, but yeah, I mean, play anybody is literally this entire slate. I mean, Trevin Giles looks like, I wish he was the lower owned guy of Parsons.
He is. He's going to be. I don't care what the RRG projections say. They're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're wrong.
Fights too slow. He fights way too slow. And you said, he needs that first round. That's where I'm kind of looking at it going, that doesn't make a lot of sense for 35%.
No. Parsons will be 30. Giles will be 24, maybe 22, something like that.
Again, just to make sure everybody knows, this show brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Massachusetts because those in Massachusetts still get the offer, but bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Oh, man. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if we get like some type of double nut shot disqualification type junk on this type of slate, Blender. What was the fight we had? Was it last slate that I think there was a draw, right? It was
a
the
draw.
Klein fight where I think that absorbed a ton of ownership as well.
Yeah, because I had it. Yeah, so, yeah, I remember.
Ugly, because it's like, you have a guy at 8,300 minus whatever 110 inside the distance. We're all sucked into that. But yeah, final thoughts before we get out of here, because I think that's about wraps it up here, because play anybody. That's it. That's your saying.
I mean, but legitimately, I mean, it sounds like, oh, well, we tuned in for play anyone you want. It's like, now, on a slate where you can play anyone you want, find a reason to not to play the people that other people are playing. I mean, that's essentially build lineups that don't share the same combinations of players. If you want to play Chidi and Jaquani, go for it. That's fine. I'm not. But in that lineup, like, that's a lineup you fade the main event and you don't play CJ Vergara. It's like, oh, okay, you're good. Then do that, right? So it's like, it's not just like who to play. It's like,
yeah.
I'm leaning towards who's the most over-owned, and to me, it's Chidi and Jaquani. So I'm playing 50 lineups in large field, 6 in small field. And like when I was running my 300 lineup sets and whittling down lineups, I was down to like 2 line. I got to like down to 75 lineups, and I only had 2 Chidi and Jaquani lineups, and like 1 Santos lineup and 3 Lee lineups. So I just said, screw it. I ain't playing like at that point. Just like, no, I'll just get rid of all. I'm just gonna live by the sword, die by the sword, and that's the way I play. So like,
I like the combos you have. You said you have De Silva Lingo combos. That's more.
No, I don't think I don't know. I'm not sure how many De Silva Lingo combos I have, because I don't have that much of lingo. I don't have that much of that fight.
I have Barber Holm combos.
Oh, now, see,
ugly.
But I got rid of those.
It is not fun.
No, those are not. But I understand why.
Yeah.
See, I'm more likely to have combos where it's like I have Vergara and then one of Barber or Holm, and then have Lucas Alexander in that lineup, right? Or I would have like Lutz, Barber or Holm, and then De Silva on the leverage against Vergara, like those types of lineups. But I mean, it's 11 fights. Try to get unique. Hey, you're competing against me, so don't dupe me. But
yeah,
if I'm gonna get lineups that are under 5 dupes, which is what I aim for, so 4 or less. If I have a lineup that shares with 3 people, I hope it's 3 people that are watching this.
I agree 100%. One last question was in chat. If you had to pick Salvador or Vera, obviously the safest route is Vera, but I think Salvador is going to come in lower than his 35% owned. Would you agree with that, Blender?
Yeah,
and he's got output.
But obviously, Vera, I would. I mean, from a median perspective, Vera is better. 5 rounds and more. I would say more upside in a decision. But I mean, Salvador could get a first-round knockout.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys get everything in. It's 1 minute to lock, and you should follow both of us on Twitter at Blender HD and at H3 Buddha. We will see you guys for the next card. I believe it's 2 weeks away. We have a little bit of a break. Whew, finally.
Because it's WrestleMania. I'll be watching WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I will too. We'll see you guys.